Welcome to the Seahawks podcast. I'm your host, Clinton Bonner. Adam, the Seahawks, we lose 19-16 to the Tennessee Titans. I'm not so sure the final score matters tonight. We're going to recap this game. Adam, the Seahawks played exactly one half of football, basically. I'm wearing half a shirt. How you doing, buddy?
I love that you're wearing half a shirt in honor of half a football game. Look, I mean, there's a lot that we can take away from this game. I've got my pocket full of notes here. And I think probably the first thing to start out with here, Clinton, if we're going to talk about big stories of the night, I think that the biggest story coming out of this game by far is that Jason Myers has the shanks. He has the shanks, Clinton.
You're going
Somebody needs to
early.
take him aside, put his helmet on backwards, take all his change from his right pocket to the left, put a golf tee behind his ear, and stop shooting chili peppers up Lee Jansen's ass and start, getting through the ball. Like this spraying stuff to the right. It's now 2 games in a row, and this is a massive concern.
Well, look, our special teams was so good last year. Myers literally broke the all-time NFL record for most points scored. And what do you have? 6 field goals in the last game of the season, right? Going 6 for 6.
Yeah.
And he saved their ass a couple times last year. That Phillip Rivers game comes to mind as well, late in the season versus the Colts. He was money Myers all year.
Last year.
And so far, so not very good. Now the games don't count yet, but it looks ugly. You know, I know we're jumping right into kicker talk, but it looks ugly. Everything is getting pushed. Like you said, doesn't seem like a lot of follow through. The ball's tailing on him, and it looks very ugly. We will get into all of it, and we'll stick on Myers for a second more. But I always want to recognize Ryan 911 coming in, our executive live producer, 999 super chat, saying, "My man, the hose was fantastic tonight. We thank you, Ryan. You're the man." And but all right, what else you want? Do you still want to talk about Myers though? We got it out there early.
Special teams,
bad, right? Again, great last year. Today, the Titans are in the game. Even at halftime, they're in the game because our special teams is brutal.
Yeah, it was tough. Cody White with the fumble as well on the punt return.
Yeah.
Henderson had a return as well where he caught it in the end zone, then took it out, then tried to go back in, and he was just like, dude, run the football, Tough game for special teams. And we wanted to get kind of the bad out of the way, or at least the majority of the bad out of the way at first. There we go. Special teams was the worst unit of the night. And then you start looking at the first half and you go, holy crap, the Seahawks 2s are better than the Titans 1s.
Yeah, Robert Saleh can kiss all the grits. Before we do get there, I do think we have to also recognize the other bad Bud Clark. When you bring the air cast out there within 30 seconds, bad sucks incredibly hard for the young man, for our team, for our depth. He's our second round pick, and I'm no doctor, Adam. I don't even play one on TV, but when you're bringing an air cast out and you're getting carted off with that much kind of fanfare around you, for a lack of a very bad term there, doesn't look good for Bud. We'll hear, I'm sure, shortly, but I don't think we're going to see this dude this entire year now, it seems like.
No, that looked like a season ender right there. Heartbreaking for sure. And you could see just how much pain he was in right out of the gate. I mean, immediately motioning to the sidelines. Super tough break, man. Yeah. And I was super excited about Bud Clark. That's the second biggest story of the night with Bud Clark going down.
Yeah, I mean, and I do want to get into some of the people we did see later in even the third and fourth quarter in the safety position, because now that really opens up, and it maybe just examining what can we look at safety when we get behind, Okada and Love, because that changes now. And very unfortunate. It's a brutal football stuff, man. Brutal game. I mean, look, Raiders go out there today, and Ashton Genty blew out an ACL today. He's done. Most likely.
Are we sure?
Well,
I just saw an update that they thought that he avoided major.
I hope so. I saw one that said it looks like an ACL tear and likely done. So look, I hope the dude avoided all that, but it's a brutal sport. So, all right. Well, there was a lot of good, especially early. Where do you want to go first? Because that first half, man, we were kind of cooking and firing on maybe some old flurry cylinders.
Yeah. So I think you have to start offensively, right? And one of the things that, when we talked with Bryce Coots on the Hawk side just yesterday,
great conversation,
talking about the idea of people wanting to see the offense come out and click and do a little bit better there. And holy smoly, you get a touchdown drive right out of the gate. Arroyo makes a couple nice big plays in that drive. No, the touchdown was a complete coverage bust. So like, okay, preseason, but
Yeah.
look, that's a touchdown drive with your twos going up against the Titans ones.
Yes.
And it was crisp. And I thought Drew Lock had a better game tonight than he did in week 1 of the preseason. And that was pretty cool. And then I'm sure we got to get to Jacardia Wright here at some point as well.
Yeah, I think so. We got Brandon here dialing in from the airport saying, he says third biggest story was R2s against the Titans ones, and Brandon is of course dialed in. Yeah, man, like Robert Saleh's defense looked bad and we were pushing them around. So before we get to celebrate maybe a little Jacardia Wright, and give him a little bit of flowers. I mean, look, he ran through a nice hole. I would like to put the emphasis on the run blocking in that particular play, because it was like 3 or 4 people had to do their job really, really well against dudes like Simmons right in the middle there. So I'll go to my guy. I mean, on the pull there, my UConn boy, Christian Haynes.
Yeah.
This is the second week in a row, Adam, where I was like, okay, I think Christian Haynes is solidifying himself as a legit backup guard right now, right behind Bradford. I think he played pretty good, dude. What did you see?
Yeah, overall, I think he had a decent game, and the block on the touchdown run where he pulls and gets out there was a fantastic block. He had some down moments as well, and I think this is something that we're going to have to talk about in regards to a number of performances tonight. There's some bad and there's some good, right? And that doesn't mean it was all dog water, and it doesn't mean it was all awesome. But at the end of the day, Christian Haynes has the nice block there on the touchdown run. 2 plays before, he gets absolutely smoked by Simmons. And you just, at that point, you're like, look, I really hope that we don't have to play Christian Haynes against elite D tackles on the regular. That could get problematic. So, I think at this point, especially with Richmond going down early in the game, he jogged off. It looked like he might be okay. But I think Christian Haynes may have solidified a spot as the number 2 guard,
which is pretty crazy considering where we thought maybe, maybe like just battling for a roster spot. I agree. And I think Cable Dew got in early because Richmond went out. I think it was Cable Dew who actually sealed Simmons on that long run. I think it was. If someone wants to check in chat, you can let us know. But I think it was 77, which I think is Cable Dew. But then Cable Dew was also playing late into the fourth quarter also. So he was, I think he was out there because of the ding to Richmond. But that's the way it goes. But also, that's the payoff play. What did you see from Fleury's offense? I saw a couple of things right out of the gate that I really liked. I would say philosophy-wise, maybe the first couple of plays. Well, it was simply like Brady Russell with a head of steam, under center with the fullback kind of offset, and you're running back deep, and then playing off of that, right? So that right out of the gate, and then they change it up and they get in the shotgun and do some things from there. But I thought just philosophically and watching how Fleury scripted the opening 10 or 12 plays or so looked really good to me, especially when you consider it's R2s going against Titans ones. Anything else, any wrinkles from Fleury, or just ways in which he got the game going that excited you?
Yeah, I mean, some of the multiple motions that you see them go with, and like we've seen Brady Russell go a motion and then they check a receiver in or out or something like that. That was kind of fun. I think the number one thing that I kind of took away from it was just how many condensed formations that we ran. It was almost all of that, right? And
even out of shotgun though, like it was still like condensed around the line for sure. So that's a great point.
Yeah. So, you kind of get that feel of the bully ball style of offense that I think Coach Mike wants to run, and the type of offense that I would love to see them run. But good sequencing from Fleury in the first drive and the scripted plays. And now that's 2 games in a row where I feel like the scripted plays looked really, really good. And honestly, outside of that, I think he improved this game compared to week 1 as a play caller, because the offense continued. Obviously, they scored the touchdown. They put Myers in position for another field goal at one point, and I thought they moved the ball pretty effectively throughout the first half. And I think that's a great step to see out of Brian Fleury.
Yeah, and I think what was it, 16-9 at the half? I want to say, 16-9 at the half, but that was with a missed PAT, a missed field goal, and the Cody White fumble, which gave them 3 points, right? So right there, a 7-point swing. This should have been I think in a typical Seahawks game, which starts in a couple of weeks, I think this game would have been over by halftime. they would have been shut the door. But again, we talked about Myers early. Just you can't leave those kind of points on the board. But of course, Wright has that big touchdown. We actually get pushed back with that longer PAT, make it like a 40-something yarder for an extra point, but he pushed it right. All right. So, but either way, the first half was still really good, holding the Titans to only three field goals, which is really not all that bad. There was anything else about the offense, first half, particular players? The stat lines aren't like outstanding. There wasn't even like a Foster this time to look at and be like, oh God, yeah, 5 or 6 receptions. It was really more spread out. And besides the big play from Wright, I'm not sure. I don't have much else to grab on and saying this offensive player stood out versus another. Do you?
No, not really. I mean, it felt like kind of a steady performance in the first half. And then when we got to the second half, things got less steady, if we're going to put it nicely.
Yes.
Look, in the first half, that was all positive stuff. That's all the stuff that we wanted to see from the offense. That's without even the starters playing. And I think that's a massive positive. But then we get to the second half and it's like, oh my stars, the back end of the roster receivers, if you're relying on them on the regular, we're in big trouble.
Yeah, we're not.
Yeah.
We're not, and we're not going to, but
Yeah.
they were bad. They were GROSS gross, I think it's how you say it. They weren't good. But I'd like to flip back, if it's okay by you. In the first half, there were a couple of players I thought defensively that really jumped out to me. One that I'll start with is I think Brandon Peely really had a nice game. I thought Peely was super disruptive. I thought he was like in the backfield quite a bit, just really blowing things up. I had a couple of different scenarios. There was one in like 5 minutes ago in quarter one, a second down play. It becomes like a 2-yard run, but it's a 2-yard run because Peely outright beats, wins his spot. And there's a clean linebacker to come in. Might've been Paul. I thought Paul played really, really well.
He had a couple plays.
His best game so far, I think, as well. And let me see, I had a couple more. Oh, you know what? I got so one more who I thought played. I think he had a near sack in the first half, and then I think he gets a sack. Maybe it was like early third quarter. I thought Jamie Sheriff played a really good game of football, man. So he's wearing number 50 out there. He had a bull rush early second quarter where he just dog walks his guy back into I think Cam Ward was still into Cam Ward's lap, doesn't get the sack, but he disrupts the entire play. I think it was early third quarter, Adam. He does get the sack, but again, he just dog walks a tackle directly back. And at that point, it might've been Levis's lap or Trubisky. Boy, they have a lot of quarterbacks flying around Tennessee, Adam. But Sheriff stood out to me. And you saw other dudes like Gaines get in later and other dudes getting in later. But I thought Jamie Sheriff made a really good showing for himself that off the edge, this wasn't speed either. This was pure, I'm running through your face and still getting to the quarterback. I was encouraged by what I saw from Sheriff.
Yeah, I think that he had a couple of really nice reps, getting some penetration and actually, screwing up the play a little bit there for the Titans. If we're going to stick kind of to some of the defensive line stuff, Connor O'Toole has a sack. He had a nice TFL in the game as well. And I thought he flashed and showed some stuff. I also felt like number 70, Singleton, at the defensive tackle spot. He made some nice plays. And, he got pushed around a little bit in the run game at times, but also had some nice plays and getting in the backfield and really stretching some things out. I thought that was pretty encouraging. To kind of shift focus to maybe the back end of the defense, we talk about corner 3 all the time and what we're going to be doing there. There was some moments that I felt like Dansby had a couple nice plays. Fuller had a couple nice plays, then a bad one. Like there was some up and down there from those guys, but some flashes that maybe we hadn't seen before.
Yeah, we got Waterbearer 79 saying Pritchard looked pretty good to me. So Nehemiah Pritchard had a very nice play a little bit later on that screen, on the bubble, right, where he just bursts it. He goes right through the wide receiver, says no, not today, Satan, and he just makes a really nice tackle right at the line of scrimmage. But I saw the same from Dansby. You mentioned Dansby.
Mhm.
I like Dansby around the line of scrimmage. I have not seen enough. This is not like, oh, I haven't seen it, therefore it's bad. This is literally, I haven't seen enough volume of him in coverage. But the things, for me, one of the things with the Mike Macdonald defense is if you're a cornerback, you need to be able to stick your hat in there and tackle well around the line of scrimmage. So for me, this was the second time I saw Dansby really make a plus play. One was last week, and there was one this week as well. So it's like, okay, so it's there, it's on tape, and he's a good. He brings his hat. The other one you mentioned was Singleton, right? Singleton to me had two splash plays that were both really, really good. There's one where he beats the edge and whoever it was, and he strings the play out to the side, and then it's Hook who might get a chance now at safety, and he comes flying off the screen, brings his hat, and he makes a really nice tackle. So it was a nice combination play, but it's kind of cool to look at these guys that are going to be bubbly / ready squad. And while the second half of the game was choppy at best and the interior line got bowled over, it was ugly again for certain dudes on the interior line. There were these bright moments from a guy like Singleton, who I think was rocking number 70 out there. If folks are like, who are we talking about? I think he's number 70.
Yep, you're correct. Number 70. And I think you're also correct with your assessment of the overall defensive line play in the second half. The threes and the fours, they were concerning. And the good news is that, we're not going to remember any of this by week 5 and it'll all be gone, and that's fine. But the competition for quarterback 3 is going to be interesting. I also thought, we talk about safety position stuff. I thought DeAnthony Bell had a handful of nice plays in this game as well, and showed out nicely. So, some flashes, and that's kind of what you're looking for in preseason games, right? Like the idea of picking out a lot about Fleury scheme, or seeing some cohesion out of the threes and the fours in the second half of a preseason game. It's just not going to happen. I mean, that looked like a preseason game, all the penalties, the choppiness of it.
It got ugly.
And so, Bell, Dansby, Singleton, O'Toole, those are the guys defensively that kind of stood out. I'd be interested to hear your take on Montorie Foster Jr. in this game, Clinton, because we've got a little back and forth in the comments here regarding Foster's performance. So what did you take from that?
Yeah, I think there was the outs, or the reason Brandon was out on Foster, as we're seeing on screen. Well, I think that one of the reasons was he had another false start penalty, right? So those are absolute no-nos. You just can't do them. Drive killers in certain ways, and certainly momentum stoppers. But the other stuff I thought I think Foster, well, let's see, looking at the stats real quick. What did Foster end up doing? Foster, okay, he had one catch, but for 24 yards. So he did have a, kind of one big splash play. He had 3 targets, so he only hauls in 1. But again, the ball was really spread around quite a bit. So I don't know. I keep seeing enough from Foster that I think he's got a legit shot of making this roster. Cody White did not have a good day. Now I think Cody White is locked into this roster. I think.
Yeah.
But he had a shot to go up and get a 50-50 ball from Milroe down the right-hand side. Doesn't come down with that. And then, of course, he has a really, really bad muff on that punt, and they turned the ball over. So Cody White was just a little off today. He had 1 reception, 8 yards on 2 targets, and that really bad miss. But Ricky White had a nice little day. He had the 2 receptions for 22, but he also had a big play call back that they called him, I think, on OPI, where he gets the arm extended, and they call it the arms extended. Sometimes they're going to see that and call that, but I don't mind it. I think he got the separation, and he gets downfield real quick. So
and Milroe hit him with a great ball.
Yeah, yes, he did. Didn't ends up not counting, but that was right on time. So so that was another one for me that I thought White played pretty well, or at least got himself back into this kind of race.
Yeah, because we hadn't been talking about Ricky White much, and it was nice to see him go out and have a few opportunities to kind of go back to Foster a little bit. He had the one big 24-yard catch on the inbreaker that, again, Milroe put right on the money. It was a perfect throw. That was really cool to see. He also had the opportunity for the touchdown in the first half, and Locke just overthrew, but just that much.
Yeah, that's right. Oh, that I forgot about that play. So that was a great all out dive, and it's the ball moves a little bit, and that's going to be enough, obviously. So, but that was a good effort, and it was
great effort.
Yeah, really, yeah, fantastic effort, right? And you're right, Locke. It's just he's open. Like Foster did his job all the way through, then lays out. Just can't make a diving play as he hits the ground. What are you going to do? But if Locke has a little more loft on that, or it's a half a yard less deep, he's catching that in stride for 6. So really glad you brought that back up, because I momentarily forgot about that. But his stat line would shift dramatically, and he'd be the kind of the talk of the town again about catching another touchdown. So it's a little bit of a miss, but that when Fleury and Mike and the team go back and watch that, they're going to watch the process and be like, he once again got open, which is what we talked about. Like, this dude routinely gets open. He has some mental stuff that we saw in Hard Knocks, Adam, but for my money, it's really hard to cut a dude in the NFL, especially a wide receiver, when they consistently get separation, and he's doing that.
Here's the problem, though. It's easy to cut a wide receiver in the NFL when you continue to compound boneheaded plays, like mental errors. That's the type of stuff that drives coaches absolutely insane.
True.
Right? Like, to get a false start as a wide receiver is maybe the most inexcusable false start of any of the players that are on offense. Like, all you have to do is look in, and when the ball snapped,
go
run. Like, you can't, there's no way you should be listening to the snap count or anything like that. And if you are, you're doing it wrong. So yeah, that's going to be something. The inconsistency, the volatility of Foster's play is going to be a difficult thing for John Schneider and Mike Macdonald to evaluate at the end of the day, and decide if that's somebody that they want to keep around based on the upside, or if they can't deal with the nonsense like Clinton's no sleeve shirt.
I got a new guy called me out. He's considering dress code on YouTube Live. So you might have missed the beginning there, Noof. I'm on the East Coast. My wife is sleeping. I was watching the game downstairs. There's no shirts down here. So this is what it is. So the Seahawks, I made the joke, Seahawks playing a half. I'm wearing a half shirt. I appreciate it. And we got Brian saying, hey, is that the rule for hosts or viewers? Whatever y'all want to do at home, but then I like this too. And then Brandon saying, just no nips, Noof, guys. So go with the Janet Jackson rule here. So no nips. But I hope I'm happy to take a ribbing over this poor man's Pat McAfee look that I got going on here. So all right. So first half good, second half terrible, really, really bad. But let's see. We talked about Milroe already. There were some other dudes I thought in the second half that still played pretty well, or had a couple. Actually, we went through them. We went through Singleton, went through Dansbury. We talked about Hook already.
Yeah.
We did not talk about Milroe's performance. I think we should talk about Milroe, because again, the pendulum or the reactions are wide. Even in our chat here, we got some people saying, I think he played pretty well. And I got some people are like, hey, trade this dude already. Which is odd, because he's a second-year guy. So Adam, what did you see from Milroe? 2 interceptions are not good, of course, but there was stuff also beyond those interceptions.
Right. Well, let's start with the interceptions and be honest about the play on the field when it came to those 2 interceptions. The first interception, inexcusable. You can't just not see that dude. Like you really, really can. And that was an awful pick. God awful. Like double minus if you're grading it. Right.
No, and he looks like he's trying to stare that particular line. I think it was a linebacker who dropped back, or safety, whatever. But it looks like he's trying to stare that guy off. Like he's right there. So it wasn't like a nose tackle dropping back, with a misdirection. I think like a multiple
basic zone drop from
very much right. Just like a little drop back, and he's sitting in that zone, and Milroe's staring down that section. So do you think he didn't see him, or do you think it was a little bit of hubris? I could fit that in there. What do you think got him?
If I had to guess, it's that he didn't see the guy, because when they flashed him on the sideline right after that, like he looks at the tablet and then just kind of immediately is just like, oh my gosh, like how, like, so that's my guess. I don't know for sure. I know that the announcers tried to make it sound like he was trying to hold that linebacker with his eyes.
Yeah,
That's
that's what
not
they
what
said.
I saw
Yeah.
on the game tape. Maybe when we go back and break down the all 22, it'll look a little different. But yeah, that's a terrible, terrible pick. It turns out young quarterbacks throw terrible, terrible picks every now and then. It
Yep.
happens.
Yep. Even Peyton Manning threw a bunch of them his rookie season, from what I remember. So
Right, right. So then we get to the second pick on the boot, and yeah, he misses it on the run. That's a much more difficult throw, but you are going to your right, and he just puts it about a foot too far behind. Should Henderson keep his feet and be able to, at the very least, knock that down? Yeah, he did him zero favors by stretching his one leg way out and just slipping. But a poor throw. That was his most inaccurate throw of the entire preseason to this point. And so when you look at Milroe's performance, those are the two things people are going to focus on. And if you hear a lot of people out there telling you that that was a dog water performance, that he took 1,000 steps back, that, as Brandon put it in our group chat, that Jalen Milroe just woof, well, then you're just wrong. You're just wrong, because we mentioned closer to the earlier part of the podcast here, like, there was a number of really good throws that he made and good decisions where he actually had some clean pockets and threw some really nice footballs. Like, again, that breaker to Foster Jr., that's a great throw. That's a great throw. And he had a handful of those throughout the game. I think, you talked about one on a comeback on the right-hand side that it hit you a certain kind of way.
Yeah, well, I think he kind of just missed him and he dirted one a little bit. I mean, you miss, if you miss low where a guy's covered, that's not a bad place to miss.
That's where
right?
you put that ball.
Right. It's well, you'd like it to be a couple of feet higher so you can actually catch it. But look, I didn't think Milroe was very good tonight. I think we're going to disagree on this. I'm not saying you think he was good tonight.
I don't know that we are disagreeing.
I think he was okay, and he got zero help.
There we
again. And he got zero help again is the big thing too, because every stat line changes around and drives change around. That Rochelle drop, that's a beautiful, that's a planned boot to the left-hand side. Beautiful play, nice concept, using what Milroe does very well. So nice to see what Fleury understanding, hey, I could get Milroe out of the pocket, get him on the move. And if it's not there, then he's in position to use the Ferrari and use the legs. But guess what? On that play, there was a there. And Milroe put it exactly where it had to be. That's a great throw, right? So I could see enough of these moments where it's like, no, those are good throws. I thought the ball to Cody White, we talked about it right before we hopped on. You were a bit more forgiving on Cody than that one. I thought, like, hey, you got to make plays too. You got to make plays for your guy. And Cody had kind of had the high man position, right? He jumped at the exact right time, and he was about to high point that thing. I just don't think he came down with the ball. He didn't come down with the ball. So I thought it was uneven, and the interceptions are bad. And I thought he was worse than last week. And I'm not saying like terribly worse or markedly worse, but I thought it was, and it's not a step back, because it's not about that. But I think overall performance wise, I thought he was a little cleaner last week, and that was disappointing for me.
I don't know. I would agree with you. This is not a good performance. When you have two atrocious picks, it's not going to be a good performance. It wasn't dog shit either. There's, again, a lot of good stuff on the tape, and we'll do another film breakdown on that, and just to kind of show people what actually happened there. I did see one comment in the chat here talking about how when Milroe came in, bunch of false starts and holdings and all that stuff, right? And I'm not sure if the commenter was kind of trying to pin that on Milroe, but and we'll come back to Brandon's comment here on the Cody White part. But look, when you get in with the 3s and the 4s, that's what it looks like. I don't put any of that on Milroe, like, really at all. He had the nice, he had a couple nice scrambles. He had one long one, picked up first down. I think on the 4th down play where Jonathan Vilma kind of killed him for not running, it was like, okay, to where?
Yeah,
Like, there's dude right in front of him. Nobody was open downfield. Vanette broke free late,
yeah. I mean,
tried to come
okay,
back, but he was
yeah.
already having problems there. Like, I don't think the announcers did him any favors with perception. Oh, it's just a quarterback who's not confident. He threw a lot of confident balls tonight. Uh, it was an up and down performance, and it's like maybe just okay minus, like, was his performance tonight.
I think
Regarding
that's
the yeah.
I think that's fair. You want to go back to the Cody White play?
Yeah. I actually think that was a smidge underthrown. Like, I mean, if we're being real honest
But
about
I
the
think this one's
performance.
different though. You're saying the 3rd and 5, which was,
Yeah.
or is that the shot down the
Yeah,
sideline?
shot down the
Oh, that's the
sideline.
one. Okay, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Again, maybe a little underthrown, but the DB was right with Cody White too. So it wasn't
Mhm.
like, oh, if he throws it perfectly, it's still not a 50-50 because
Yeah.
it was covered well, right? Which I don't mind. It's 3rd and 5. You take your shot down the sideline, and Cody White is your bigger receiver. That's the type of ball he should go up and go get. Again, for me, White had a pretty rough day out there. And again, turnovers are gigantic in the NFL. So when you throw 2 picks or you muff a crucial punt that allows the team to get back into it, well, you're gonna get talked about a little bit, unfortunately, in a negative way. Something super positive though. We got Mark Godzilla Hawk with a $10 super chat saying, "Good to see some depth finally develop. Lots of great stuff from those not named Milroe and Myers." So obviously, Mark was not into the Milroe game. We did talk about Myers already, but thank you, Mark. We appreciate that a lot. Hey, I got some looks like bad news just kind of floating in here. So I think it was Nate Schutz, who was very fun to hang out with in our Discord. Everybody here should get involved in our Discord. It's fantastic. Go getintheflock.com. I think it's $5 a month now to get in the Discord. It's a ton of fun. Like and subscribe. But Nate, burying the lead here, says, "Damn, just heard they think Mason Richman's injury is severe." So if there's more about that, put it in the comments. Please let us know what's up so we could kind of, maybe give, if there's a report or someone's tweeting it out or Mike Macdonald said something, we want to be as accurate as we can, especially with the young man's future like that. Nate, that stinks for all of us. That was a dude.
Not true, but
hope it's just not, not true. But that was, he was locked in basically, it looked like, as our backup left guard. So if we lost him also, and we lost what was going to be our backup safety, man, we're taking some hits. In last season we had injuries, but they tended to be like, okay, he'll be out a couple of weeks. All right, it's a 2-week thing. Even it's a 6-week thing. Cool. He'll be back. This year so far, Adam, it's like we're hitting some guys that they're done for the year with Bobo, and looks like Bud Clark. I'm unfortunately sure that news is gonna be bad on him too.
Yeah, no, for sure. I guess in comparison to some of the other teams around the league, I mean, at least hasn't been to knock on wood key starters to this point.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So there is that. And look, I mean, it's a game of attrition, and these things are going to happen. And the good news is that they practice at the VMAC and not next to a substation. So I don't think that this is going to be a continuing trend, but yeah, a bummer for Richmond, bummer for Bud Clark, no doubt.
Yeah, we got Carly Perkins asking a great question out there for folks that, might not know. She's asking, was Richmond predicted to make this roster? I think Car, the answer is yeah. I think he was looking like the very likely backup left guard. He was winning that battle, and that was all the buzz, and that it was, Cable Dude was sliding backwards, and others were and Richmond was kind of lapping the field when it came to backup left guard, which at that point, you're pretty, obviously you're very close to getting out there for with the ones. Hopefully no more injuries, knock on all the wood for that. All right. So anything else you see in chat, Adam, or areas that we did not canvas? Again, overall, the stuff that matters most, we talked about Jason Myers. Certainly he's got to get right, but beyond that, the Seahawks played really good football when we had our top players out there, second string guys, and it was against Tennessee's ones at the beginning of that game. And we were the most crisp. Lock looked good, and we looked like a well-oiled machine on both sides of the ball when the twos were out there. So I think that's a big improvement from last week as well. And again, I think that first half was a lot more like what we're going to see of regular, if you will, Seahawks football when the real lights go on.
And it does give you some confidence offensively, just in terms of seeing it work and being like, okay, this is similar to the scheme that we're all comfortable with from last year, no doubt. Oh boy, here we go. Yeah, Mark here has in the comments, it is confirmed by ESPN head coach Mike Macdonald confirmed it's a major long-term injury. Expected to sideline Richmond for multiple months. Also, Brandon on the plane seems to have gotten the same information. So that stinks. But offensively, I think that was a positive performance in the first half, and Drew Lock looked pretty darn good. I mean, there was a couple things you could get nitpicky about, but he looked pretty darn good. And I think that we didn't really talk enough about Wright's performance in this game, because
okay, let's talk about that.
I thought it was pretty dang good as a whole. Now that's 2 preseasons in a row where he's flashed, and that gives me a little more confidence going into the season, knowing that Charbonnet is not going to be back for a while. And we've yet to see Price as fans like do anything on TV. So we're still projecting that.
So I've got a very different take on this. So this is Jacardia Wright.
Yeah, I'm not even.
I always want to put an R at the beginning, but it's Jacardia Wright. So I apologize. Yeah, Jacardia, which is a really kind of cool name. So he goes 8 carries for 81. That's a great average, 10, the 1 touchdown, but the long was a 69-yard run. I know there's some people that love Wright in our Discord, and that's cool. I don't see a lot from him. I just don't. I think he's he doesn't have like crazy elusiveness. And look, he hit a hole that was there that a running back should go hit. And he had enough breakaway speed to take that to the house. Fine. I can't blame a guy. It's a 69-yard touchdown. So I'm not going to dog the guy. I don't think he's all that special a back. I think that Velus Jones has more special qualities in terms of burst. And then of course we have Emmanuel Wilson can't find the field, and we're a couple of weeks out from kickoff, and he's been injured. And Halani we think is good, good to and can pop a bit,
he's
but
okay.
Good. Yeah. I think he's a good back with some upside, but not great. And then you say we haven't seen Price one bit yet. It is interesting that they put Price really in bubble wrap, and the report was, for those that didn't see it, like, hey, the coaches have seen enough in a positive way, like the explosiveness, the vision, all being there, the contact balance. They saw enough this week with the shared practice with the Titans that they were like, we do not need to risk him out there. So if you want to say more about Wright, of course, go ahead. But I'm interested in your take on the coaches putting Price in bubble wrap too.
Yeah, I mean, of course, we're going to trust Coach Mike. I mean, at this point, it's hard to, cast much doubt on a lot of his decisions because of the job he's done since he's gotten to Seattle. When I was saying, like, it's projection for us, like, I was speaking more for us fans. Like, we just haven't seen him, like, unless you went to training camp. And so I loved his film in college. I think he's going to be good. I'm excited about it. But it is disappointing to me to not see him on a personal level. But you know what? The Seahawks don't need to make me happy with who they play in the preseason. Like, right. That's not what they're trying to get done. I do have a question for you. Yeah, I mean, you talked about Halani and Wilson and then Wright. Let's compare Halani and Wright a little bit. Like, which one of those two is more explosive to you? I
think Halani's still a little bit more. I think Wright is explosive. I think so. I think, I've seen enough, and I think he's a better pass catcher. And I think I also saw Wright have a bad miss today on a blocking assignment. Bad.
Okay,
bad,
cool.
Bad.
That's not what I was asking about. I was asking about
those things.
This.
I don't think Wright is that explosive. I just don't see him as like, oh my gosh, he's making people miss that should be tackling him, and he's being super explosive. Even the touchdown run, it's a nice run, but to me, it wasn't like, oh my gosh, look how he got through that hole. It's not like you're watching Jahmyr Gibbs there. So I think it's fairly close on explosiveness, but I think Halani has other things he does better to make him a better overall back.
All right. Well, then we're watching two different players because I don't think it's even close. Like I think Wright is much more explosive than Holani. Holani is okay. Like he's a fine average NFL running back that will get you the 3 yards if there's 3 yards there. He'll get you 5 yards if 5 yards there.
That's how I feel about Wright.
And he'll catch stuff out of the backfield, but he's not going to hit a 60-yard home run. Like that's not George Holani. Like it's not the George Holani we've seen anyways, as a Seahawk. And then, him in comparison to Velus Jones, like I have a hard time with the wide receiver turned running back thing. Have never really seen it work out much. And while Jones is probably the fastest of all of them,
yeah.
I don't see the vision. I don't see the instincts. He's a guy that bounces it constantly. I am not a Velus Jones guy, really at all.
Yeah, I get it. And I'm not a huge lover of the wide receiver turn running back either. It's not my favorite thing there. So, and look, Wright did himself very well tonight. So it's like, I could have my viewpoint on him. I think he's kind of a jag in terms of what a running back is in the NFL, but to make this roster, he's been serviceable. He's been good when he has gotten chances. I can't take it away from him. When the guy's gotten touches, he has performed. So, I could eat that crow.
Exactly. Yeah.
So I'm admitting that for sure. So I still think he probably does make the roster, is what I would see. And again, we have no idea if Emmanuel Wilson will be ready. And
yeah. And also too, like I feel like I'm in the minority on this opinion, but Emmanuel Wilson and George Holani are basically the same dude.
I think Emmanuel,
to me,
Emmanuel Wilson's, his like yards per carry are near elite. And when Jacobs went down and he went in, he was good. Like the Packers got derailed when Kraft got hurt, right? When he was the glue. He was the engine for that team. When he went down, they were just derailed. But when Jacobs went down, Wilson did the job. He was really quite good. So we'll see. But you know what? You got to be healthy. And he has not, he's also not healthy right now. So we'll see. We'll see if he can get ready and maybe he gets a few touches as we head into Kansas City. But if I had to predict right now, I think Wright has done enough to make this roster because, hey, when he gets his touches, he's at least productive and good enough.
Yeah. In at least initially, right? Until Charbonnet's healthy. Then maybe then he ends up getting moved down to practice squad or something. And when I'm talking about Wright, like I'm talking about him as like running back 3, right? Like I'm not saying like this guy needs to be a starter. We need to put him out there. He may even be better than Price. Like I'm not saying nothing like that.
Yeah, no, I get it. I think he's solidly running back 4 on this roster currently, or 5. But we have Daniel saying put Shaheed back at running back. Mm-hmm. We did it last year, and I don't.
JS had in the backfield a couple times too, but he was catching passes from there.
Yeah, I mean, Shaheed is an interesting change up every now and again where they'll just be like, "Hey, let's just student body left, student body right, get to the edge," because he's so darn fast, and he's got good vision. Shaheed has the vision with this team. I personally actually don't love giving Shaheed running back touches because running backs get beat up in the NFL. And I want to see Shaheed returning kicks. I want to see Shaheed getting behind safeties deep. And I want to see Shaheed running safeties deep. So JSN and others can eat and Barner can eat all day long because Shaheed's presence is really important to what Flory wants to go do.
Yeah. I think the other guy, since you brought up Barner, that we didn't talk about enough in this game, I think it was Arroyo. Like we're starting to see him pop a little bit here and there and get integrated in. And I think that's really awesome to see because as you put it, like with Sheed and then possibly, Horton being back at some point, taking the tops off defenses, having Arroyo working underneath there with JSN and Barner and all that, when they're going to want to be in some heavier personnel packages, that starts to get exciting.
Yeah. I mean, look, 2 receptions, 50 yards. He gets the big touchdown, which was 36 yards on 4 targets. Like you said, it's an absolute blown play, which I'm sure Saleh is going to be very interesting. Like no one decided to cover him, but he puts certain stress on linebackers, or if he, depending on the mismatch element is really obvious. Right. And I think Fleur is going to take advantage of that. So if we can get a bit more Arroyo, it'll be very fun and very intriguing and a bit of a change up from last year too. So a team can't just go back and look at last year's stuff and game plan for Arroyo being a more sincere part of this offense, because that's not really on tape. He really didn't get a lot of chances last year.
Yeah.
So let's see. NFL smart. I think the NFL evolves really quickly. And again, I've been on the record. I'm not anti-Arroyo. I'm anti-move tight ends in the NFL. I just don't think I think more often than not, there's a lot more hype around the move tight end, and there's not a lot of productivity, because at the NFL level, you're seeing more teams at least trying to emulate, like, okay, we could play a nickel, but we could play with some guys that could really travel and hit with these tight ends. So, and I think the NFL is going more towards that way, which I think is going to make the move tight ends even a little bit more depressed than it would be. That's just my take on the trends and what's going on. With all that being said, look, I was not a huge fan of the pick last year, and I'm really warming up to what I see with Arroyo. And this is also training camp stuff and the mismatches that I think Fleury can create with them.
Yeah, for sure. It'll be interesting to see as a whole league wide what happens this year with the tight end position, because after Sean McVay invented 13 personnel, as we all know, then I think you're going to see a lot more tight end usage, and we'll see if that sweeps the league in the way that a lot of people seem to think. So it'll be interesting.
One more topic I think is fun. We got Sean Scotchman saying our fullback were quiet tonight. We saw Lampy late, and Lampy had a hold, which I'm not sure was a hold. We didn't get a great angle at it. Looked like I'm not sure if it was, but I thought Brady Russell, look, I was very bummed when we lost Oots, because I think we lost a different type of fullback with a different type of size and explosiveness, because he's 275 and he actually jumps out the building. He has power that these other guys don't have that are at 250, who are not quite the athletes. But I thought Brady Russell looked good he early with the first couple of drives where Fleury was cooking his very most. I thought they were using Brady Russell quite effectively. So maybe it was quiet, but quiet, effective fullback is still effective fullback.
Yeah, not a position that really jumps off the screen a lot to especially casual football fans and that sort of thing. Look, Brady puts his hat in there and, gives it his best effort when he gets in the hole and all that, but he doesn't have the size, and he's not going to be able to dig out linebackers and really do the job that way like maybe Oots could. And that's something you've been talking about for since the Oots injury, right?
Yeah.
And I do think you're right, especially seeing him a little more with the starters in the first two preseason games. But what Brady Russell does have is a background in the tight end room as well, right? And we saw him have a catch in this game and nearly have another, as Locke was scrambling around a little bit. And I think that if you're going to use Brady Russell as your starting fullback on the regular this season, I think one of the things that you're going to have to lean into a little bit is his ability to catch the ball a little more like Juszczyk than maybe like having him as like a Lorenzo Neal type, just going down there and just digging out linebackers.
I'd like to see that. It'd be a cool thing to adopt if we're going to get more of the Shanahan type stuff with Fleury. Some of that stuff could be really, really effective. The half orbits and things like that Juszczyk started doing, which kind of came from the college game and actually got over to the West Coast, which we saw Lampy actually do over in Northern Illinois. All right.
You did. I didn't.
Okay. Well, I did watch his highlights and he does some of that stuff. Right. So,
okay.
And all right, look, we're heading into Kansas City, and this is kind of a quick turnaround because I think Kansas City game is, earlier this week than obviously playing on Sunday night this week with the Titans game. If you had to say, hey, the one take Jason Myers out of it for a second. We want to see Jason Myers put the ball through the friggin' uprights and stop with the yips and pushing everything right. So let's suspend that for a second. Yep. What's the one last battle / main area? Like, I really want to focus on this as we head into the Chiefs game.
Ooh, that's a good question. I think because I don't think we're going to see the ones. I really don't.
Yeah. I don't know.
So I would like to see Foster put together a clean game. I think that would be something that would be really cool to see. I'd like to see them maybe feature Arroyo a little bit more, get the ball in his hands and see what happens there. I feel pretty good about what we've seen out of some of the line and stuff to this point. Is the twos anyways.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. The twos on both sides were good tonight. They were and sometimes dominant, right? There was a stretch there where the defense was giving them absolutely nothing. And again, it was a muff punt that let them back in the game. But you mentioned Arroyo. I want to go back to him for a second. At this point, wouldn't you be okay if Arroyo didn't take a snap against Kansas City? Like, does he need to? And just like
you're probably right.
Like let Vanette, Salbert, and others do that. And I don't even want. I mean, Salbert to me is a very good blocking tight end, and I value blocking tight ends. Mm-hmm. But I mean, can't we just figure other dudes out there that kind of put him in bubble wrap with Barner and say, hey, you two guys, just take your shirt off. not like this. Take your pads off, and kind of enjoy the game. I think I'd rather see that with Arroyo. He's not going anywhere. He's going to be a factor this year. So
yeah.
I'd rather put
You're probably right. That's probably the smarter play. That makes a lot of sense. But when you kind of framed the question, what was really going through my mind, Clinton, is that by the time I got halfway through the third quarter of this game, I was like, oh, I forget this happens every year. Preseason week 1 comes along. I'm so fired up, I can barely stand it because I've been going through a football, withdrawal for the entire offseason.
Yeah.
Love preseason week 1, like really get into it, all that. Then preseason week 2 rolls around. You get to watch, some of your upper tier players for a couple drives if you're lucky. And then it devolves into preseason football by the second half. And I didn't want to watch it. Yeah. I didn't want to watch it. I was so over. I cannot wait for the regular season. So what do I want to see in KC? No more injuries and moving on to week 1. We're on to week 1.
Yeah, we got a couple of good comments here too. Michael Knight saying that's easy. So answering the question I posed, saying Jalen play well, and then backing that up, Sean Scoshman says Milroe play with the twos. So hey,
I think that would be interesting.
Just flip it. Let Milroe take the first half with the twos and see if he could fare just fare better than he did tonight. I think the thing for me is still watching. I think now Haynes has stacked a couple of good weeks in a row. Now we lose Richmond, which sucks. And just watching the guards, watching them and be like, okay, who's going to, even at this point, like, I feel like you could, you got to play some dudes, but you have enough guys there where I think Haynes has actually done enough to be like, maybe just, we can't lose another. We just lost our second string left guard. It sucks. We don't want to lose our second string right guard because we're getting thin early, but that's the area I'm going to watch for sure. I really like what I saw from Peely. I'd be very happy if they bubble wrap Peely. It's like, okay, you won the nose tackle position. I value the nose tackle. You don't need to play anymore. And I'm looking around. I mean, I don't know. Chris Paul played a really good game, in my opinion, tonight. And I guess the other place is just, again, you mentioned earlier, Fuller had a couple of nice breakups, couple of gaffes, but played well. Can Dansby still be effective? And like D'Anthony Bell is now going to be squarely battling for a safety position with Bud Clark's injury.
Yeah.
But they have him out there late in the fourth quarter, late. So it's like, that tells me the coaches are not just handing it over to him, and there's still a real battle there. So kind of that battle for what the Bud Clark vacancy will bring, I think will be one of the major storylines of the week too.
Yeah, it should be interesting, and we'll see how the team adapts. If there's one thing I'm completely confident in is Coach Mike's ability to figure out who he's going to want to use there in all of that for sure. So a couple people in the comments, in respect to Milroe being like, well, maybe a full game of Milroe. And I think that could be something positive as well. I still think overall, if you look at his 2 games here in comparison to last year, like a lot of the comments I see about Milroe, like, oh, he looks lost, he's slow, like all this stuff, right? Like, yeah, that was very true last year. I see overall improvement. Are we a finished product? No. Like those 2 picks were freaking terrible. Like those are awful. You got to own those. But yeah. I do see some growth from Jalen, and it would be cool to see him for a full game and maybe get him with a higher quality surrounding cast for at least a quarter.
Yeah, I think that feels about right. And again, we might get a drive or 2 of Sam and the ones it's possible that they'll go out there and say, hey, yeah, maybe go take a drive or 2. I'm very okay if we don't. I'm totally confident in what the ones have. I don't need to see JSN out there. I don't need to see Barner. I don't need to see Sam. In fact, I would vote not to, because the game means nothing, and go get ready for the Patriots. Well, that was fun, man. It's a first half. I'll take everything away from the first half and then kind of suspend the second half. While it wasn't great, and it was choppy. There were still moments that that brought me some delight and some really nice plays by individuals. But the second half was just like, to me, like you could dump most of it.
Yeah, bad
It's,
football.
yeah, it's bad football. But what's not bad is, of course, we had Ryan 911 coming in with a 999 super chat. We had Godzilla Hawk coming in with a $10 super chat, and we had other folks like Chewy 938, who's been a member for 34 months. He actually said,
awesome?
yeah, he came in and said Milroe was no good tonight. I didn't get to honor this earlier. Can we trade him for a DB? Hope Bud Clark is okay. Bud Clark's not okay, and we're not trading Milroe. Not this offseason, but really good comments, really good stuff. We had a lot of fun. I just want to see, I mean, at this point, man, I really want to see Seattle just get to the New England game as healthy as they possibly can get there. And that's really, frankly, all that matters at this point. We can't take more depth pieces. And like you said, we didn't lose a queen off the board. We didn't lose a rook off the board, but dude, we're losing pawns. And they matter in the full game, the full season. And in some cases, maybe we're losing dudes that might have been even more important than a pawn, if we're continuing the chess analogy here. So let's get through Kansas City, stay healthy, and just watch Fleury continue to find his way with this offense. Because again, besides Myers, the biggest takeaway for me was the beginning of the game. I thought Fleury looked and the team looked really crisp, and that to me is really encouraging.
Yeah, and just with the Myers thing, like, if you're not a Tin Cup fan, none of my jokes make sense about it. But like, he's got to stop thinking about the doctor lady, and like, we need to get him out of his head. Why it scares me so much, Clinton, is the Shanks are like a virus. They just come out of nowhere, and you know how weird kickers are mentally. So I want to see him come out. I want to see the 2s and 3s come out and put a spanking on the Chiefs. Myers kick it right down the middle, end the preseason with the dub, and be healthy and go and kick the snot out of the Patriots, who seem to think that they're way better than they were last year.
Yeah, I could get behind all that. And I think with that,
there's only one thing left to say.
Go Hawks.
Go Hawks.